the concept of what Rosh Hashanah had that Elul didn't. That what was found in the 6th day of creation over and above the 25th day of Elul, the first day of creation. And we wound up saying that really the light, the infinite light, was placed inside of the world on the 25th of Elul. It had everything going for it. It was the Bria, and everything was created. And besides that, it had the Atzilus, because it had Breishis Bara Elokim Es HaShamayim Ves HaAretz. And we said Breishis was Chachma Elokim, was Bina, Zah was Es HaShamayim, and Malchus was Es HaAretz. And even above that, we said, why does it say Vayi'erev Vayivoker Yom Echad? Why does it say it was evening and morning, day 1, as opposed to the first day? Because the oneness of Hashem, which he says over here is even higher than Atzilus, was in the world. And it was not only in the world from the state of Hashem's perspective, it was even in the world from the world's perspective. However, the world's perspective had not yet really hit its true low. It hadn't really clarified what the world's perspective really was, because the world had not yet really delineated itself into what we would normally consider the world. So even though the world as it was, right, was experiencing the infinite light, and there was a mamash, a fusion of Elokus with the world, but the world was a sort of elevated type of world. And so the Elokus could only fit into that elevated type of world. As the world would delineate as the days went on, and the world would sort of get lower, as it were, than it was on the first day, so then the ability to join that same level of Elokus with this lower world, that is what is achieved by Rosh Hashanah. And that's why it says Zeh Hayom Tchilas Masech. That's why it says this Zeh comes Dafka Hayom, which is Rosh Hashanah. We couldn't get to the Zeh on Chaf Hei Elul. We only could get to the Ko, i.e. Chaf Hei. Right? We could get to the level of like the perfect, revelation of God, but not Zeh, not as it is truly before you.
Is it like a spiritual tohu?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's wrong at all. There's something very true about that. And why is it that there was tohu? There wasn't tohu in reality. There was Yom Echad, right? Everything was one. Tohu is the opposite of one. But why would I sort of agree with you? Is because tohu itself is the idea of infinite division into irreconcilable parts, and that was taking place in a certain way inside of that world. It's just that it was still bound together. But should it be unleashed, you'll see that it would have come out and become separated. So that's what you need a Rosh Hashanah for. Is after the tohu, which would have ensued after the first day, right? Then that delineation can be reconciled by Rosh Hashanah. You follow what I just said, or not really? Okay. So there wasn't tohu on the first day. I mean, in that sense, the tohu was like at bay, but it was a potential of tohu, which is why you needed a bigger fusion of Elokus on the Yom of Rosh Hashanah in order to fix that. Okay, so we'll go on. Does someone have a question or no? Alright. Gimel. V'hinei nosef al kol ha'iluim hanal. In addition to all the great qualities that we just got through saying, Shayu b'yom harishon d'maaseh bereshis, that were in the first day of creation, Chaf Elul. Hine yedua shebechol vav yemei bereshis. It's also known that all 6 days of creation, gam b'yom hashishi d'maaseh bereshis, lifnei chet eitz hadas, even the 6th day before the sin, ha'klalus ha'olam b'dargas Gan Eden. The whole world was, of course, at a level of Gan Eden, right? They only got sort of kicked out of Gan Eden, or after the sin. So besides everything that we already said about the greatness of the world on the first day, even as the world started to open up, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and we were sort of just indicating maybe we went into a state of tohu in some nature, but in reality all those days were Gan Eden. We were in Gan Eden. So it was really the concept of like breaking the kelim and not being in a state of oneness. Okay, the oneness of Yom Echad was certainly a certain higher darga than any of the other days. But it's not like the Yom Echad just disappeared entirely. It was still Gan Eden, the whole 6 days. Even the 6th day itself, before the sin. The Gan Eden...
The sin was before Shabbos or after Shabbos?
What's that?
Sin was before Shabbos or after Shabbos?
It was before Shabbos.
And it was on the same day they were created?
Yeah. 9 hours later.
They spent Shabbos outside?
No, Hashem let them stay for Shabbos. So really they stayed in Gan Eden even after the sin and during Shabbos. But it was not, I guess, the same Gan Eden having gone through the sin.
Right.
It's like
So awkward. If someone has a Shabbos, you like break their base.
right, exactly.
Wasn't Shabbos just like every day there before the sin?
It was probably much greater than our Shabbos is every day, but compared to their Shabbos in Gan Eden, no, there's a difference between Shabbos and the weekdays.
Well,
So-
the Kabbalah speaks about like the grace Sabbath.
Right.
What does that indicate? I thought that was what Gan Eden was before the sin.
There was definitely no question that Gan Eden had a tremendous level of divine light, but obviously if there was Shabbos in Gan Eden, it's even an elevation of that. So their Shabbos was compared to their other days must have had something special to it. But you're right, in general, when we're talking about the great Shabbos to come, we're trying to get back to the light of Gan Eden. So there's different levels of Gan Eden itself, obviously. Anyway, the Gan Eden, Gan Kamoshu Achshav, Gan Eden, even as it is now, Hu Darga Hachinai. This is obviously the highest, most wondrous thing. Nothing can compare to it. All the riches in the world are incomparable, even to the lowest state of Gan Eden. Alachas Kama V'Kama Kamosha Haya Az. How much more so what Gan Eden looked like then. In other words, the real Gan Eden, before there was such a thing as sin, Gan Eden on earth, it was unbelievable. So despite all the things we said about this 25th day of Elul and all that it contained, let's not forget, it was also the Indian of Gan Eden. He's Afal Pikain, Al Yidei Briyas Adam, Rosh Hashanna, Mitzvah Eloi Ba'olam. Nonetheless, the creation of man on the 6th day was able to add to it. So all these great things, we already sort of said on our own, outside the Maimon. The Rebbe has not, in his own words, explained what Rosh Hashanah has over 25th of Elul. So that's why we kind of jumped the gun on that one. But he's saying, despite all this, and it was Gan Eden, and the Gan Eden of then, still Rosh Hashanah added something to the world it didn't have before. To the point that through the service of Adam HaRishon, Nisvasav Ilui Gam Gan Eden Kamoshaya Az. It made even Gan Eden, as it was then, even on a higher level. And we see this Kipshuto in the Pesukim. As it says, Vayinichu Began Eden La'avda L'Shamra. Right? It says that Hashem put man in the garden to work it and to guard it. He kind of leaves out the guarding part, but he's saying just to work it.
This is higher than when the God made man, higher than Gan Eden of Yom Rishon from the Elul, like, or from before the eighth of Dalet. What was the whole thing you brought from the eighth of Dalet that Yom Rishon had this aspect of Gan Eden?
He's just saying that.
I got kind of confused where we made the contrast between Gan Eden and Yom Rishon.
Right, he's just adding the concept that, besides all the things we said before, it was also Gan Eden. That's basically what he's saying.
But what was also Gan Eden?
The whole experience of from the first day to the 6th day.
Got it.
Right? In other words, what we're saying, I think if we read between the lines a little bit, what he's saying is that level of Yom Rishon, right, which we were saying before, it was isolated into Yom Rishon, and it didn't spread out into Yom Sheni, Yom Shlishi, Yom Revi. Why? Because those were days of the Yetzira and the Asiyah. In other words, the Bria.
Right, it wasn't a full.
Right? The Bria had something going for it, in that everything was as one. Right? It didn't yet reveal its parts.
Like it wasn't Gashmis like this.
It wasn't Mamish Gashmis in the normal sense of the word, because things hadn't popped out of the state of into the state of formation, right? And we were saying that when they did pop out in the state of formation, they sort of would have lost, seemingly, that level of oneness that existed in the first day, right? Because as things start to delineate and separate, so they come out of their ability to hold pure oneness. You understand what I'm saying there?
Why didn't Hashem just create the Gashmis on the first day of the Kapila? Why didn't he create?
But let me just, all right. Let's follow a train of thought, then we can ask the second question. But I'm with you on your questions. But you understand what I'm saying?
I got my first question.
You might think that the second, third, and fourth day sort of went down a level because they're not that first day anymore. Things are already starting to delineate. Once things start to delineate, they become more worldly, and you lose that level of like Yom Echad because it can't be held, right? And what he's saying here is that no, the whole thing was a state of Gan Eden, right? And even though there was a certain very high level of divine light, even in the parts, right? Because they still sort of held that Yom Echad experience, still there was something that was added by Rosh Hashanah. They was able to fuse it inside of them in a way that they couldn't get it without Rosh Hashanah. You have a second question?
I have a question.
Do you have a second question? No? Okay.
Because all the days of the week go over to Shabbat, it's like a circle. So I was wondering, when you said that the first day didn't go with the second day, does that mean that there was a whole new creation on the second day, and that it wasn't completely different than the first day?
Hashem recreates the world at every second, but it was definitely had an association with the first day.
You just said it didn't have an association. You said it was a different day.
It was a different quality in that day.
Right.
Okay, so what are we saying here? That Rosh Hashanah, does anyone have an extra copy?
Yeah.
Rosh Hashanah nonetheless has an ability to add even to the Gan Eden experience that was going on then. And where do we see that? Because it says Adam was placed in the garden to work it, which means obviously whatever Gan Eden was in its nature, it was intended to be improved upon, right? So you could just see that there was some elevation that was meant to happen by placing man there.
But man, on the sixth day of Rosh Hashanah was created by Gashmis, though, right? Gashmis.
Yeah.
So how is that him keep connected to a Gan Eden of Echad, which is...
No, there was already Gan Eden. First of all, Gan Eden even on the first day was Gashmias. It was just a unique type of Gashmias, like everything was as one. It wasn't spiritual, it was physical. The physical world began on the first day, 25th of Elul. It was just a very unique type of...
Before light?
Yeah, but first of all, light was made on the first day as well.
Before the sun?
Yeah, sure, before the sun. That's what I'm saying. It was Gashmias. It's just the Gashmias was very strange in such that the sun and the moon and everything was contained inside of one sort of material. It had not been formed. Gashmias was formed, but the delineation of the Gashmias into different stuff had not yet been sorted out.
Okay.
It was the material of Gashmias was formed, right? So we're saying here is that on the sixth day, right, even though it was this unbelievable quality, it yet could be worked and could be improved upon. Because even though the world was created in perfection, al miluyo in its fullness was created, where do we see that the world was created perfect? It says, Eila told us Hashamayim va'aretz behi baram. Right? There's a pasuk in Bereshit that says, these are the chronicles of the heavens and earth behi baram. And it says the word toldos maleh, right? There's a whole concept of the word toldos that means the offspring. So sometimes we find the word toldos without two vavs. You can, like, in other words, the one of the vavs is just taken for granted that you vowelize it like that, but the vav is not written into the Torah. And sometimes we find the word toldos with an extra vav. And when we find the word with an extra vav, it means the toldos, the offspring, are perfect, they're complete, they're full. So sometimes talking about people, that, for example, the children of Tamar, we're going to see in a second, they were twins and they were both perfect. So they were toldos with an extra vav, right? And sometimes, like we see here, it's talking about the toldos, the earth itself, the toldos, the offspring, so to speak, of the earth, the heaven and the earth. It was said the toldos with an extra vav means they were maleh, they were created in their fullness, they were perfect. So even though that's the case, that fullness and wholeness of the earth is the earth as it is as far as the standpoint of creation. In other words, the highest level that creation, as a creation, can reach, but not beyond creation. So the world was created, in other words, the creation itself could fall to horrible levels, which it basically did, right? But the pinnacle of creation is an unbelievable godly thing. Creation is not implicitly lowly and dark. Creation is implicitly a Gan Eden, and it was created as its perfection. And nonetheless, even in that Gan Eden, Adam can come in and improve upon it. So we're saying that it was created in perfection, but only in the perfection of worldliness. And if you look, that's what it says. Eila toldos Bihi baram. These are the perfect creation. Bihi baram, in their creation form, and they're full as a creation. It doesn't mean there's not a higher level of fullness they can attain, which is beyond creation. B'kein b'lashon Chazal, we find a similar language. It says Olam al miloyo nivra. The world in its fullness was created, i.e., as a creation it was full, but only up until the level of the peaks of creation.
See that then today, nice things in the world, as beautiful as it is, that's like the pinnacle, like say Hawaii, waterfalls.
Hawaii is the peak of creation. No, we're talking about the level of godly revelation that was in the creation, the Gan Eden. The world is for sure not right now in its state of fullness, because there's even mosquitoes in Hawaii and snakes. The white man brought mosquitoes and snakes to Hawaii. Even they can ruin anything. The white man. So the idea is that the world is not in a state of perfection anymore. But when it was created, Mamash, what he's trying to say is a godly revelation. It was Elokus all throughout the world. At a level of Yom Echad even. Right? The world was created perfect. But being perfect, we don't need beautiful waterfalls. I mean, the Elokus can be seen with your eye. But the shleimus of the world, Kamoshu mitzad abriya milamayla, hu b'medina v'hagabala. But the problem is this wholeness of the world as it's created from above as a creation, it's automatically going to be in a state of limitation, measured and limited, because Hashem created the world to be a world as opposed to what He had before with the world, which was beyond the world. So Hashem had basically two pools. He had a limited nature of Himself. The limited nature of Himself was also godly, and so therefore when He showed it and revealed it, it became a godly limited nature, totally revealed Elokus, but in its limited form. So therefore, even though it was perfect, it was still limited and did not access the unlimited nature of Hashem, because that's exactly what He made the world with, His limited nature.
That was before Adam.
What?
Are you talking about day 1 or
Before Adam.
Day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and forevermore actually. It's just that on the 6th day, when He created man, and the ability for man to, so to speak, improve the garden, He set He set up the ability for a supernatural, unlimited nature of light to come into the world. Up until man was there was no access point in the world for that type of light. And since the world's purpose was to have that light in it, the world's purpose was never just to be a perfect world. It was intended to begin with to be a world that was perfect in such a way that it had something beyond the world in it. And so that's why we can actually call the 6th day the first day. Zeh hayom. Tchilas ma'asecha. Because ultimately, the real beginning of the world was only the day that the world has achieved the ability to reach its perfection. Right? Which is to have something supernatural into it. And to improve the Garden of Eden, this level of perfect world.
That happened after people...
That happened on the 6th day when Adam was created. The potential to serve Hashem. Because only through service can you access that infinite light.
That was the whole purpose of creating the world.
Yes, there would be no world had He not done that. That's why the 6th day is Rosh Hashanah.
When He created the heavens, did He create the angels at that point?
He created everything on day 1. Heavens, angels, and anything else you can think of. But that's still just a perfect world. Because as you said, created. Those things are not beyond the world, believe it or not. Angels are part of the world. Right? They're not part of our world per se, but they're part of the world's. They're part of creation.
So in the beginning there was God, and then it was just only God, and then boom.
Then suddenly there was a creation. Right? 776 years ago.
11 days actually.
In 11 days it's going to change, but it's mamish an unbelievable thing that we actually have like a timeline for this. This whole crazy thing happened not that long ago. I mean, it's long, but you can count it.
Not that long though.
You can count it. It's not like trillions and billions. It's just a few thousand.
So there were no dinosaurs?
We didn't say there were no dinosaurs.
To be honest, because apparently the animals were big before.
We just said that there's a few answers that Rabbi has for that. One is
Not as old as.
they're not as old as they claim they are. There's a problem with their whole dating process, carbon dating and the like. And he explains in great detail, scientific detail, why that's the case. That there's plenty of scientific evidence why carbon dating is incorrect. And not only that, but all the dates of the different various dates of the world. You can date it through astrology. You can date it through geology. You can date the world in different ways. They all come up with different numbers. There's obviously something is slightly awry there. They haven't really nailed it on the head because there's flaws in all their dating process. But he cites tremendous flaws in the concept of carbon dating. We could talk about it another time.
God created
but there's other ways to explain dinosaurs. In general, in our version of history, there was a time of giants roaming the earth. I mean, we believe in giants. So the concept of actually having dinosaurs on the world is very, very aligned with the whole concept of what world looked like in those days. According to Torah. Goliath was a giant. There's a lot of
but
giants.
he was a relative giant. Like Adam was like 200 feet tall.
They found the skull and bones of a giant somewhere, I think in the north of Israel, somewhere in the north.
Very big.
I think that might have been a hox. You could do a lot with
How big is that?
with pictures today.
He's built at the same place where Avram.
All right, can we proceed?
I don't know if he has.
So what we're saying here is
14.
who Adam?
Yeah.
No, he's in Hebron.
No. He is a spot where he's buried. I don't think he has
200 feet long.
Huge.
They had to fold his body to get him in.
See where Avram Avinu was?
Yes. You ready to go on?
Yes.
Okay, so we're shooting. Even though the world is perfect, it's limited at that level. And through the avoda of man is the only way that you can draw down an unlimited light. Hashem put the unlimited light there in the first day. If you recall from yesterday's class, it says that Vayehi Or, he created light. That was the light that the Jewish people could use in the future to access the infinity. But the problem was, it was not yet at that point able to actually enter into the world. It was created with the first day. It was the statement, the utterance of the first day, but it wasn't able to actually enter the world. It was sort of in a state of havdalah, in a state of separation from actually poking into the garden. The potential of it was there, even on the first day. But the actualization of that original light of Vayehi Or, of the light of the Or Ein Sof, the light of Hashem's Atzmus itself, to actually enter into the world, it was in a state of havdalah. The world as it was at that state had no way of accessing it.
Did he purposely take it away and hid it?
Again, he hid it inside of our ability to serve. That's where it's found, right? It's there inside of every one of us when you do any mitzvah, right? You heard what Rabbi Gafni was saying last night in the Fabrengen, that all the silver and gold in the entire world, all the riches, right? Is not, if someone writes you a check right now for the entire property of Olam Hazeh, right? You own every single thing there is in the entire world. Adam Arishon. It's not compared to the happiness of one mitzvah that you could do. Because inside of a mitzvah you have something which is beyond all the world. And not only that, he went on to say, and it's very mamash shaykh to what we're saying, the Alter Rebbe went on to say, Tachas Hashem lo avarta Hashem elokecha b'simcha v'tuv levav mirov kol. Because you did not serve Hashem with simcha, mirov kol, when you had everything. So the first shot of everything from the Arizal was, as I just said, all the everything of this world. The Alter Rebbe goes on and says, even all the everything of all the other worlds, in other words, Gan Eden. Even if you have all of Gan Eden, you should realize that it's nothing compared to one mitzvah that you have before you, because exactly as we're saying now, all the Gan Eden is all limited light. It's worldly light. It's revelations of God beyond your wildest imaginations, and I say that very, very literally. You cannot even wildly imagine what it's like to experience one drop of even the lowest level of Gan Eden. And we're saying is the simcha of doing one mitzvah is greater than all the highest possible levels of Gan Eden, because it's all limited light, and inside of a mitzvah there's mamash the infinite light. Zeh, can't see it, but if you so what? If I give you a gift, of infinite quality that you can't see, you should also be happy. Anyway, the idea is that this all was made possible through the contributions of Adam Arishon, the generous donation of Adam Arishon, the creation of man.
What happened to the dinosaurs?
And this is
Would that be this resource by way of mitzvot and also tshuva?
tshuva is also a mitzvah. Yeah, it's basically divine service. So if you're not doing tshuva, you're not doing divine service either, right? I mean, if you're in the other direction of tshuva, it's not. You can't really say you're serving. So it's all bound up with tshuva, indeed. So where do we see this in the pasuk? That there's this new level of shleimus, of wholeness and perfection in the world. It says, Eila told us Peretz. These are the offspring of Peretz. Who was Peretz? He was one of the children of Yehuda and Tamar. Yehuda was ultimately the tribe from which David HaMelech came from. So and it came from the line of Yehuda, Peretz. So Peretz is actually the union of Mashiach. It says that Mashiach is called a Poretz Geder. He breaks all boundaries. What is boundaries? Boundaries of the world. Even the boundaries of the highest level of Gan Eden is limitation at some level, because it's creation. And Peretz is the breaker of all limitations. That's why we talk about Ufaratzta, right? The idea of Ufaratzta is the notion of breaking all boundaries. And this is also what we just got through saying, Simcha Poretz Geder. What's the way to mamish access this level of divine service? It's not just stam doing a mitzvah, as we just got through saying. It's doing a mitzvah with simcha. If you're not doing a mitzvah with simcha, we learned from this week's parsha, all those, God forbid, rebukes that are in this week's parsha will come across a person, God forbid, even if he does all the divine service and he's just missing simcha. That's because that's what it says. Right? Because you didn't Hashem Hashem with simcha, you remain limited. You don't access the mitzvah point, because the mitzvah point is an unlimited thing, and the unlimited nature of it comes with your realization that it's beyond limitations. So that creates this unlimited simcha inside of you that's more than all the wealth in the world and more than all the wealth of Gan Eden. It's realizing that in the performance of your mitzvah, which gives it the push to bring in the outer worldliness. So it's mitzvah b'simcha.
Clearly, I don't want to stay limited, but what are these rebukes that you have going on?
The 98 curses in this week's parsha.
And that's if I don't do...
The curses which are really blessings, but it doesn't look good on the outset. What's that?
There's no latitude for my level, and...
So, no, what he's saying there, the Arizal, and it's quoted in Tanya, just everyone should know, it's a very strong word there, which I just said and I'll repeat. It says in the beginning of the curses, or at the end, I don't exactly remember where it's in there, but it says, why is all this happening to you? You'll ask yourself. And it's because you did not serve the Lord your God with simcha when you had everything. You know, it's like you sort of pushed Hashem away, and you had everything, and instead of sort of being humble and serving Him properly, you got arrogant and you took your mind off of Him. Right? You got fat and you got lazy. Right? So that's a simple meaning. But the Arizal picks up on this. He says, what does it say exactly? Because it doesn't say because you didn't serve Hashem, all these things happened to you. It says because you didn't serve Hashem with simcha, when all these things happen to you. Which he concludes from there that even if you did serve Hashem in perfection, you just didn't serve Him with simcha, then you're fit to have all these things happening to you.
So you shouldn't do a mitzvah if you're not going to do it with joy?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say you're not doing a mitzvah unless you do it with joy. On the contrary, don't hold yourself back from doing a mitzvah. God forbid, do every mitzvah. But don't think you're doing a mitzvah if you didn't do it with joy. It's like you say, I'm going to put on my tefillin on my ear. Say, I should hold myself back from putting it. You're not doing it to begin with if you put it on your ear. You have to put it in the right place, and the right place is with simcha. That's what the Rebbe always says, that you might think I can perform mitzvahs and then I'll do the mitzvah behidr with a beautification and I'll be b'simcha. He says that's not pshat. It's not, simcha is not a hidr of the mitzvah. Simcha is a necessary component of the mitzvah. If you don't do it with simcha, you're not doing it at all. So, and why? Because that's what accesses the unlimited nature, as we're seeing right now.
But simcha seems more easy to like kind of attain than tuv leva.
But that was the vort of the Rabbi last night also, is that simcha is an external thing,
right,
and tuv leva is an internal thing.
Right.
But the one unique midah, I love this. I actually said this over to my family. This is a great thing to know. The one unique midah, like quality in a person, that you're allowed to fake and you're encouraged to fake is simcha. And it's right. Why? Because if you fake loving Hashem, a different midah, you're like a loser basically. You're like pretending to be someone you're not, and it's not. It's a laughable thing. You're gonna go around davening like as though you push it or like holding in such a place. It's not a Hasidic thing to do, right? You're gonna pretend that you're a Yirah Shamayim. You're gonna take all these chumras on yourself and pretend that you mamash have the fear of God. You're gonna fall. You don't have the fear of God. You shouldn't pretend. You should be where you are. When it comes to simcha, you should push it, laugh and smile and jump and dance and be happy. And I made a little. I was telling my family over. We had a little family Farbrengen. That's why I jumped out of the Farbrengen in the middle. And I said, I'll prove it to you guys. I said, let's start laughing right now. I don't know if I'm going to make that experiment right here. And I just started laughing hysterically out of nowhere. Nothing was funny. And I said, watch. And everyone started laughing. And all of a sudden they couldn't stop laughing for like 20 minutes. Because if you externally make yourself happy, you wind up with tuv leva. It pasha makes you happy. If you fake simcha, you become happy. So therefore, it's not so hard to reach tuv leva. You just have to have simcha. And it automatically follows. Pretend to be happy and you'll be happy.
So you said doing a mitzvah b'simcha.
And we could do this experiment right now. I guarantee you'll be in stitches. See, it just puts a smile on your face. I said to them, it could take a person days and months and years to try to convince and prove that there's a God. But this, I can prove to you in 1 second. You start laughing, everyone starts laughing. It's you can prove it, that it's true. When you pretend to be happy, you become happy. It's an instantly provable phenomenon.
If you notice that, like mitzvahs, when you do it, even if no matter what type of mood you are, you become happy from doing the mitzvah.
Not necessarily. You have to make yourself happy. Trust me, there's people out there doing mitzvahs that are not happy about it, and and they could be all dressed up in big, fancy, furry hats, and they just have a frown on their face, and you just don't want to really be in their presence. Just doing mitzvahs is not going to make you happy. You have to do the mitzvah b'simcha, and not only that, but the Arizal said that the entire blessing of him receiving Ruach HaKodesh and having the merit to meet Eliyahu, the prophet, every day and teach him the entire secrets of the Torah was all in the merit of him doing mitzvahs b'simcha. So it's clearly not an easy thing to arrive at. It's the secret of Mamash Ruach HaKodesh, of a prophecy to fall upon a person. But it's not that hard because you can make yourself be b'simcha. It's not like you have to reach some kind of a level of divine perfection. You just have to be happy. Put a smile on your face. Yeah.
You said true fear of God is by default, it's not within our wheelhouse. And also, love of God doesn't happen just like that. It's something that's a process.
We said that there's two levels. There's lower love and fear, and there's higher love and fear. The lower love and fear is within your potential to manifest in yourself. But the higher love and fear is not. You can't elevate out of existence without a tool of Torah or mitzvah, which itself is beyond existence. That's what we said about that. So what I'm talking about is like bring yourself to a state of love. On the lower love means mamish meditating with your own natural abilities to the point that just like you could meditate on a new car or a new fancy computer development, and you would be talking about it all day and sort of can't get enough money to buy it, you would feel that same love about the Eibishter if you meditated on His greatness. And so you can meditate and contrive in your mind a love of Hashem or a fear of Hashem based on human meditation. You can't reach higher love and fear, we said, unless you associate that with a mitzvah, because higher love and fear is getting to a point beyond creation, and a human cannot bring himself beyond creation without a divine object called a Torah or a mitzvah in your hand.
The lower level that I can achieve is achievable only by way of
meditation.
Process.
Meditation.
So I'm going to be on my level.
Meditating every day and elevating your level. What's your level is the capacity of your intelligence. If the smarter you are, the more advanced you are in terms of your ability to concentrate and keep the idea in your head, like we had in yesterday's Tanya. Das is an ability to stay on the target. In other words, you can be really smart, but if you don't have a good concentration, your smarts are not going to lead you to emotions. You have to stay focused for a long period of time on the meditation so that it works on you and it actually produces emotions. So it's a combination of how much intelligence you have, how much you can think, and how much concentration you have, how much you can stay connected to that thought and allow it to generate inside of you feelings. So this is within the realm of every person. Every Jew has exactly what they need to reach a love and fear of Hashem with their God-given intelligence and concentration that they need. Yeah.
Before you said that doing the mitzvah b'simcha, this is what accesses the unlimited light?
Yeah, we're all over the place. If you're trying to like get back on task here, but yeah, we did say that exactly. All right, let's get back into the.
With that being said,
so where do we see that there's an inyan of the unlimited light? Is Eila Toldos Peretz? Getting back to the point, Peretz, as we said, was the son of Yehuda, the great grandfather of David HaMelech, who's called Haporetz Lefanav. He just breaks everything in his way because he's Mashiach. This represents a light which is beyond creation, and we see that the word for Peretz is also Toldos, that same word, and it also has an extra vav, Toldos Male, but this is a different Toldos than Eila Toldos HaShamayim Va'aretz. Because the Toldos of Shamayim Va'aretz, which is the wholeness of the heavens and earth, that's the limited wholeness of worldliness. But the Peretz, Eila Toldos Peretz, which is the Mashiach, Avodas Hashem type of wholeness, is a whole different level of extra vav. Right? That even the extra vav of the Toldos of the heavens is only a limited fullness. The Toldos of Peretz is an unlimited fullness. Sheportzim kol hamedidos v'agbalos de'olam. That it breaks through all limitations of the world. Right? As we say in Lechadodi, Ben Partzi, right? Mm-hmm. He's a son of a Partzi. Who's a Partzi? Peretz. But it says, Ufaratzta Yalma Kedma Tzefona Vanegba, right? You're going to break through north, south, east, and west. What is north, south, east, and west? That's called the limitations of the world, right? It's directions. The idea that there's a direction means you're in a box, essentially. So Ufaratzta means you're going to break out of the box of the world, the box which contains directions, time, space, up, down, north, right? You know, that's not. It only appears as though we're stuck in this situation. And all of a sudden, if you want to say, well, the dinosaurs, this, that, you know what? Nothing has to make any sense when you get out of the box of existence, right? You can make all kinds of new questions and new answers and things that you never even thought of before, because you can ufaratzta out of this box with a mitzvah. So the Torah is coming from this place. The limitations of the world, even according to the greatest scientists, it's pasha. They don't even know what they're talking about because they're dealing with a certain box. Not to say that we don't want to translate to them from outside the box. It's not that we want Torah and the world to be in a state of disconnect. That was the problem with Chafei Elul.
Trying to feed the box.
We want to feed the box, right? Feed the beast. So this is the inyan of Toldos Peretz. Gam Medidas V'Agbalos De'olam, that it breaks even the boundaries of the world. Kamo Shahaya B'Yom Rishon D'Mais. Even the boundaries of the world as it was on 25th of Elul, which was not very bound. Because the world of 25th of Elul was as perfect and unbelievable of a Yom Echad as you could think there could ever be, and yet that was still bounded and limited. Because the true essential light, which could feed the box, that you could bring an infinite light and actually mix it and make the finite experience the infinite, that was not available yet on Yom Rishon, on the 25th of Elul, and therefore it was still a limitation. Even on that day, when Hashem was one in His world, still there was a certain level of limitation. And that's why Rosh Hashanah is specifically the day that man was created. Because Rosh Hashanah, as we said, is all about drawing down this level of Zeh, Kanal Perush Zeh Hayom, as we said before, Zeh Hayom Techilas Maisecha, that the Zeh comes Hayom, the day of Rosh Hashanah. Hainu Hamshachas V'Gilui Atzmus Orein Sof Shalamayim Megeder HaShayches LaOlamos. And what does that mean? It's a drawing forth of the essence of God and His Orein Sof, which is above any boundaries of the world. That's the inyan of Zeh. And this only available on the 6th day of creation, when there's an Adam suddenly who can access it. This is what it means. Today is the first day of your works, because the revelation of Zeh nimshach gam b'ma'asecha. Oh, so this is a very important little line here. He's saying that this is what it means. The phrase, which is the beginning of the mimer also, Zeh hayom techilas ma'asecha. It says this is the day of the beginning of your works. Lashon asiya. What is asiya? It's not Atzilus, it's not Bria, it's not Yetzira, it's Asiya. And that's an exact language in this, because Zeh Hayom Techilas Masecha, what it's really saying is that the Zeh of Hayom can even go into Masecha. It can go all the way into not only the formation but the actualization, which remember we said that was the limitation of the world on Yom Rishon, is that even though it had this light, the world wasn't yet delineated into the lowest parts, so this light was not able to join the world at that level. But Zeh Hayom Techilas Ma'asecha means that on that day, the sixth day, the Zeh could now go into the Indian of Maisa. It could go into the world even in its most limited state. So to bring the unlimited into Dafka, into the limited, that's what was lacking on the first day. And that's what the sixth day brought. That's why it's literally called the beginning. Because it is the beginning of that. In other words, the real purpose of the world, just to bring godliness into the world, was only available to bring Zeh into Maasecha on Rosh Hashanah. So it's taka what we're saying. Zeh Hayom Techilas Maasecha. This is the day that Zeh can finally come into Maasecha. It's pashut. If you read it like now through the Kabbalistic eyes, there's no stira in the pasuk anymore. It's telling you exactly what it is.
Day 6?
Day 6.
Lamed? Elul?
No. Rosh Chodesh Tishrei. Right? In other words, Rosh Hashanah. No, this the man that Adam was created was Rosh Hashanah. That's the whole point. That's what we're trying to explain. Why is Rosh Hashanah not...
Oh, so the next day was the beginning of Shabbat.
So Rosh Hashanah
was the sixth day of creation. The day man was created.
So we don't. Is there a reason why the other days aren't in, I guess, holidays or?
Like I said, someone asked us. They are sort of like just like we said, like at the beginning of the days before Pesach, we sort of celebrate the inauguration of the tabernacle. They put it up and took it down for 7 days until Rosh Chodesh Nisan. They're not holidays, but we are excited and happy about those days. Same is true from the 25th of Elul countdown to Rosh Hashanah. It certainly is a sort of holiday type of experience. I mean, it's just in the very nature that it just days away from Rosh Hashanah is already brings up the spirits, but for this reason, we remind ourselves, and we certainly mention on those days. Today's the day that light was created. Today's the day. I can't say it's a holiday, but it's not a regular day.
Is there, I guess, like, is there more energy in those days?
There's definitely a special energy of renewal and creation in those days. Everything that ever happened on any day, the energy of that exists in that day in the calendar. So much so, if you're really a spiritual person, every Sunday has the energy of the first day of creation in it. Every Monday has all the energy of the second day of creation in it. In other words, the Alter Rebbe, when he was imprisoned, his great imprisonment in Petersburg, where they were trying to knock him out and stop the Hasidus from coming, and the Great Redemption, which was on Yutes Kislev, he was in there. It's a famous story. They closed him in there. There was no windows, and it was dark. It was like one in a dungeon. And so we couldn't see if it was night or day, and that's like part of like sort of the torture process. And they tried to like give him his food, and he said to them like why are you giving now? It's only like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And they were like, how do you know what time it is? They no, it's not. It's nighttime. He's like, no, it's not. It's daytime. Don't like mess with me on the Alter Rebbe. So he said, how do you know? He said because every hour has a different combination of Yud Kei Vav Kei of the day, and every hour of the night is a different combination of Aleph, Daled, Nun, and Yud, the two divine names of Hashem. There's 12 permutations of them. You can spell them. If you rearrange the letters, you wind up with 12 different ways, names. And he said each one of those names, the combination shines into the world at a particular hour, and he's just like reading time. He can see the Yud Kei Vav Kei, or if it's Hey Yud Vav. He was experiencing that. So the same thing is true with every moment of life. If you're like on a certain level, you can experience the energy of that day. Now, we're not on a certain level to just see it, but through Torah, and through talking about the things of that day, and through reminding yourself, certainly that's what the whole purpose of us having a Torah is to crawl inside of a day and experience the light. That's why we're sitting here learning about Rosh Hashanah, because when Rosh Hashanah comes, we don't just pass through the day. We want to know all the mamish mystical depth of the reality of that day. You could do that for every day and every moment of your life. That's what holy people do. And some people maybe aren't just endowed with souls that are higher, but even if you're not, it's not like you're cut off. Torah is your way of replenishing your lack. That through the eyes of Torah you can see the mamish mysticism in every single moment of life. You can't make it up though. You have to find it inside of the Torah. Okay.
Thank you.
Can we finish this paragraph?
We want to finish the paragraph. Let's do it. We started late anyway, so give me 2 more minutes here. So we said Zeh Yom Techilas Ma'asecha. This is the day of specifically that the Zeh goes into the Maisa, into the deed. That the level of Zeh is drawn even into the level of Maisa. That even the world as it is in its limited form, Hu Bechinas Ko, which is at the level of Chaf Hei, Ko Amar Hashem, it will be nonetheless inside of Ko, which is the peak of the world, 25th of Elul, it will be the revelation of Zeh. Remember in the beginning of the mind we were saying that every deed, every entity of creation will know, see with his eyes, see with his flesh, see with every aspect of his being that you made him, because the light of God will be flushed into every single entity of the world. This is the union of Zeh coming into the Ko. That's what we say on Rosh Hashanah. Every made entity will know that you made him at the level of Asiyah. That's why Rosh Hashanah is the day that man was created. Because this power, to draw down the essence of the Or Ein Sof, which is beyond the world, and nevertheless that same level of infinite light should be inside of the limitations of the world to feed the box. Who be Yisrael Dafka? That can only be accomplished by the Jewish people. And who are the Jewish people? Atem Kroim Adam. Our name tag is Adam. And we're called Adam, Al Shem Adam Arishon. We're called Adam because Adam, let me explain something, which is just last minute here. Adam Arishon comes all the people of the world, not just the Jewish people. So why are we called Adam? And therefore we have this koach that Adam Arishon was given in Gan Eden to improve the garden. Why doesn't everybody have that? Like animals don't have that because they're part of the world. But also non-Jews don't have it because they're also part of the world. We're this only wacky nation that can reach outside the world. And why are we like that? Because we're called Adam, based on Adam Arishon, when he's the father of all humanity. What gives? So the idea is that after the sin, Adam drew some of the world inside of himself. And so all the Yidden come from Adam Arishon before the sin. And the rest of humanity comes from Adam Arishon, which is a worldly part of Adam Arishon, which is after the sin. And so this inyan of Zeh, what he got, so to speak, endowed into his soul when he was made, and he had the inyan of Zeh Hayom Techilas Ma'asecha, was the true inyan of Adam. And therefore that when it came out through the nations of people, that little jewel of Adam Arishon, the true inheritance, understand, of Mamish, the Tzaddik Elyon, that inheritance was given to Avram Avinu, that inheritance was passed off to Yitzchak and to Yaakov, and we got this inheritance of the Zeh. In other words, that's where it went inside of humanity. So therefore, even though it says that, in other words, what's the Kesh connection? It's the day that Adam was made. But really he says over here that it's something that only the Jewish people can do dafka with their work, because this inyan of Adam is really landed in us. And we're called Adam, as it says. Okay.
When you say like inheritance, are you referring to like
the soul?
Like kind of like the ruchniistic type of inheritance that went down?
The ability to go outside of creation and serve Hashem to improve the garden. That empowerment, that thing is the inheritance.
It wasn't like it was sent through one son or something like that.
It was more than a physical inheritance. Right. It was a learned